Welcome to Encroachment Sports Talk. The NBA season is upon us, and we have a topic, just a little fun exercise we're going to run through. And that exercise is, if you were building a brand new team of NBA players, a team to compete now and in the future, let's say for a 5-6 year horizon, who would be the Keystone players that would make up your team? So just a little fun exercise that we're going to run through. And we're going to start with the front court. And Jeff, who are you filling out your team with in the front court?
So I'm going to start off by saying, yeah, I got 3 high-profile players, but that's not where I want to start. Disclaimer, I don't believe in tanking. However, this might be a situation, Chris, Mark, where I contemplate my decision-making criteria pertaining to tanking. Victor Wembanyama out of France. He hasn't played a day in the NBA, but he's my #1 guy. 7'4", 8-foot wingspan. The Frenchman makes his fellow French men, Rudy Gobert, looks like a midget. It's a race to the bottom for this kid. He dribbles like a point guard. He moves with quickness for a big man, and he can play inside the paint. But not only that, Mark, you know what my meat and potato is, right? It is the mid-range, right? Listen, Philly did it for almost 4 or 5 seasons, and they landed Embiid, Simmons, or once was Simmons, Maxey. They tanked and all that good stuff, and they got their player. Well, #1 key cornerstone player for me in the front 3 is going to be Victor Wembanyama.
Well,
#2 is going to be the rookie.
Well, let me just say something real quickly, Jeff. I think that's a great call. I was thinking about him, but I thought we weren't even talking about guys. I thought we were talking about guys that were in the league. So, but remember, LeBron called him an alien. So, does he qualify as an actual participant in this conversation, or?
Well, he is. The reason why I say he is because he's already in the G League, and he's playing G League players. He got dapped up by LeBron, like saying, "Hey, this kid is he's going to be the new guy in." And Chris, I know the topic, but 5 years from now, this kid could be one of the best players in the NBA. Hands down.
So that's the real question. Remember, we want to compete now and into the future. How many years does this guy need to play NBA level defense?
Well, if I say
195 pounds soaking wet, isn't it?
But he can just raise his hands like this. So.
Well, there's that, definitely. But
Chris, why would he need to put on weight at this moment, right? Not at this moment. It'll come over time. It comes with time, right?
Okay.
And speaking of weight, the second player that's in my front court is, you name it, Giannis, right? Here's a guy just like Wembanyama, who, when he first came in the league, he was, as Mark stated, 95 pounds or lack thereof. But Giannis, over the past 5 years, he has stacked up, put on weight. And now if you look at him, he is the best player in the NBA. You can't deny it that Giannis at this stage is the best player in the NBA. 27-year-old.
Not on all of our lists. We did something wrong.
Yeah, right. No, he's on the list.
All right, Jeff, who do you got for the third slot?
#3 in my backcourt. He's a rookie, but front court. Sorry, it's Paulo Banchero, 6'10", 250, 7-foot wingspan. The last prodigy of Coach K out of Duke, right? He enters the league with a grown man body and a grown man's game. He's ready, and if game 1 is any indication, he will be a solid player for years to come. His numbers: first game out to shoot, 35 minutes, 27 points, 11 for 18 shooting, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks. This is already NBA All-Star number.
All right. Well, all I can say is when it's my turn, my team's going to once again take yours to behind the woodshed. But let's let Chris offer his front court.
Well, we have a lot of overlap already, so I'm just gonna throw out a name, and this name actually is for you, Mark, because he's your favorite player in the world right now, Jason Tatum, right? So I mean, the kid is 23, 3 NBA All-Stars. I mean, he just is. He's spectacular. I would start my franchise with him, And I know you like him, Mark, for some unknown reason.
Mhm.
But anyway, I like him a lot. He's great. Points, rebounds, assists is all there. And the other guy I'm going to talk about that's not overlapping, and he's a little older, is the Joker, for God's sakes. Come on now. He's 27, but these centers, he's not one of these guys who is real physical down low. So I think he's going to be around for quite some time, and he's the best passing center we've seen in a long, long time, maybe ever. And he can fill it up. You talk about the mid-range, your favorite stuff, Jeff. He can hit any shot there is on the court. And I love the nickname, the Joker. So those are kind of my two that I want to put in the ring.
And Giannis, right?
Yeah, of course, Giannis is overlap. So yeah.
Okay, so Chris, you are a brilliant basketball mind because my three are identical to yours. So when I decided how am I putting my team together, I looked at a couple of criteria. One is they have to be all-around players. They have to play defense as well as offense. Second is age, and this Jeff is where I think you missed the boat a bit. Obviously, none of us picked the older guys. We didn't pick Durant. We didn't pick LeBron because those guys' best years are behind them. But also, you don't want, if you're building a team to win now, you don't want to take guys that are too young. Even Michael Jordan didn't win a title till his 7th year in the league. So you got to get those guys in the sweet spot. So Giannis is 27 years old. The Joker is 27. Tatum is 24. Those guys are entering their prime. We've got a good 5-6 year run with them. So those are my, I agree with Chris. I like these guys. I love your players, Jeff. I just, in my exercise, I think your team would get bullied a little bit early on while they're learning the NBA game. So let's move on to the backcourt. And I'm going to start here. And this is where I have, so I'll tell you my point guard, and then I think I have a surprise at shooting guard. But I wanted to also, the criteria I was factoring into my team is health as well. And that's why in the front court, I thought long and hard about Embiid. I love him as a player, love his toughness, but his health, choosing between two phenomenal centers in Jokic and Embiid, I went with the guy who's healthier. But backcourt, I'm sorry. One more thing is also the fit. We're putting a team together and I want a team that works well together. So in my backcourt, my point guard, I went with Ja Morant over Luka. And that's because, one, he's just a dynamic, exciting player. And I think I already have, so Luka, I have questions about his defense. I have questions about his conditioning. I don't like a 23-year-old who's pudgy. I don't think he'll age well. Whereas Ja Morant is just a dynamic talent and exciting, will fill up the stands with, fans, that kind of thing. So I went with him. I also feel that Jokic does a lot of the things that Doncic does in terms of sort of that slow, high post kind of, creating from the outside type role. So I felt like my team, I wanted to have a guy like Ja Morant, who's a little more dynamic on the drives and a little more exciting. But now at my shooting guard, I have a player, and this is probably some bias, but I tried really hard not to have bias and to really think through who fits on my team. And if I were picking one player, I would pick Booker. But I went with Jaylen Brown because I like Brown. If you have a team with Ja Morant, Tatum, Giannis, and Joker, you really need a 3-and-D guy, right? And Jaylen Brown is a phenomenal three-point shooter and a better defender than Booker. Booker is also phenomenal three-point shooter, probably better at driving and creating. He's a phenomenal offensive player, but I'm taking the guy who's 1 inch taller than Booker, which is not much, but he's got a 4-inch reach advantage over Booker and physically more imposing. So he'll be a little bit of my enforcer on my team. So that is my team. And again, my team's going to be taking Jeff's behind the woodshed as they learn the NBA game. But Jeff, maybe you can work some magic with your backcourt players that make up for your inexperienced front court. Who do you got in the backcourt?
So, Mark, I just like when we see eye to eye. I really do. And to be honest, John Morant is on my list. My two backcourt personnel, John Morant and Luka Doncic, right? So what a difference 3 years made. I'm sure the Pelicans they're happy with Zion, but I know there are several personnel within their front office that's probably second guessing the decision to pass on John Morant, right? Yes, I know he's a slight frame. He's 6'3", 174 pounds, but his determination and aggression of launching himself into harm's way with his acrobatic style of play, you know, the kid is a highlight reel every single possession. And when he's healthy and he's playing, he's an absolute force, right? Last year, most improved player of the year, averaging 27.4 points per game, and became the first guard to lead the league in points in the paint per game since '96, when they start tracking that respective statistic. As it relates to my second guy, Luka. All right, Mark, I know you said you pass on Luka, but why would you, right? Why would you pass on a 23-year-old? Yes, I got it. You shoot me down a couple of minutes ago saying that 23 might be a little bit young, but Luka has been playing since he's 19, right? So he's 4 years in the league, already finished among the top 6 in MVP voting across the league over the past 3 years. His downside, yes, I got it, his conditioning. But if he can commit to conditioning his body, he will be a candidate for MVP for the next 10 years. Looking at his numbers, Luka Doncic and Oscar Robertson are the only guys to average. Oscar Robertson averaged 26 points a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists across the 4 years of their careers. His numbers are today already amongst the great. So Luka and Ja, they're my two guys.
Yeah.
Nice call. I mean, this is like being a kid in a candy store. You can't go wrong with any of these players. Any one of these teams would win the title next year, but this is just a fun exercise. So
Yeah,
I just went for somebody with a little more defense and a little more conditioning. I know Jokic doesn't look like he's ever lifted weights in his life, and so I gave him a pass on that, but I just don't like these soft guys with arms with no definition. So
okay, well here we go. This is where you've made it personal now, Mark, because I'm an old chubby guy, and so I take this personally. And but so I like Luke. I think regardless of his conditioning, I think he's been just look at the statistics. I mean, he's a 3-time NBA All-Star. I mean, and he's just and he fills up the whole stat sheet. I mean, not only does he score, but assists and rebounds. I mean, and he's I think he's one of the great passing players out there. So anyway, Luka's there. John Morant was on my list. The only other guy I'd put out, kind of out to throw out in the ring, if you will, or on the hat, is Anthony Edwards. I like the kid. I'm a Timberwolves fan. I think he's got a lot of upside. He can really, in the playoffs, he hit over 40% of his 3-point shots. I like that. It's really important, obviously, these days. And he's super young. Talk about young, he's 20 years old. So those are kind of the only differences I speak to.
Okay, well, I don't know if we have any closing points. Either of you want to put in a word for how you think your team can beat mine?
Blind.
No.
Not in the weight room, that's for sure, guys.
We don't need it, though. Doesn't matter.
Well, thank you, guys. That's another great show, and we'll be back later.